We've had a terrible accident here. Henry just got taken by a crocodile.
Oh, damn it. Oh, Henry.
Crocodile. Crocodile. Crocodile.
On December 7th, 2010, tragedy struck deep in the heart of the Congo Basin. A world-class kayaker, Hendriki Koetsi, known to his friends as Henry, lost his life in one of the most dangerous rivers on Earth. The Lualaba River in the Congo is untamed. Beneath its murky depths, massive Nile crocodiles wait silently for their next victim, while hippos charge without warning. Out here, far from civilization, help is hundreds of miles away. For Henry, though, danger was never something to avoid. It was something that made him feel alive. Born in a small village in South Africa, Henry grew up in the shadow of conflict. His father fought in the border wars, and as a child, Henry often hid under his bed as artillery shook the family home. Perhaps those early experiences shaped his path, because as an adult, he became one of Africa's most daring explorers, leading expeditions across the Nile and gaining a reputation as one of the greatest kayakers of his generation.
I would put Henry up there not only with the greatest kayakers of all time, but the greatest explorers of all time, you know, people that you only read about in books.
By late 2009, two American kayakers, Ben Stooksbury and Chris Corbulic, asked him to guide them through unexplored tributaries of the Congo. Henry couldn't resist. He agreed to join what would be his final expedition. The team knew the dangers. Locals warned them of crocodiles that had developed a taste for human flesh during years of war, when thousands of bodies had been dumped into the river. In one village, people told them they had lost more than 100 lives to crocodiles in just 2 decades. Still, the trio pressed on.
So this is the start of the supermarket. It's very narrow, the water's flowing slowly, lots of rocks, crocs to rake on. I don't think I've ever gone through here without a charge.
So the supermarket is where the crocs hang out in order to feed. You're the food in their supermarkets.
Nile crocodiles are huge. They can be up to 20 feet long, and they'll hunt you.
There was a lot of talk about risk, from having clean water all the way to dangerous wildlife in the river.
To call the wildlife in these rivers dangerous is an understatement. It's estimated that crocodiles claim between 300 and 1,000 lives across Africa each year, a number that many believe is far higher, hidden by the vastness of rural villages and the lack of official records.
When Ben was given the rare chance to go, he prepared for the worst case scenarios. But how do you prepare yourself for the loss of a close friend?
Be coming out, just walking across there. Well, the thing is, nobody's told us that we can't do it.
With Henry as their guide, the trio began their 2-month-long expedition. Their starting point was Uganda, where they'd paddle through the White Nile in Murchison Falls National Park. Then, their journey would take them to a more turbulent region along the Ruzizi River, which marks the border between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda, where decades of bloody battles have only added to the danger of a region that's also full of apex predators. Eventually, they'd end up in the Lukuga River, where they'd press on for another 700 miles before reaching the end of their journey.
It's gorgeous out right now. Jeez.
Doesn't adjust.
Everything has gone great. Had a beautiful time. I think everyone's super stoked we took the chance, but hopefully we walk away from this with just good memories. And remember, kids, don't cross international borders at home.
Up to this point, the journey had unfolded just as they hoped. Despite the constant risks surrounding them, the group managed to keep their spirits high, carried forward by the thrill of adventure and the promise of discovery. Until December 7th, when Henry, Ben, and Chris paddled close together through a narrow channel as rain fell over the river. As the group pressed forward, several crocodiles slid silently into the water, their massive bodies disappearing beneath the surface. The kayakers instinctively tightened their formation, clustering together in a channel no more than 200 feet wide. They paddled so close that their strokes had to alternate. Careful not to clash paddles. It was a fragile sense of safety. 3 men against an unseen predator in waters that belonged to something far older and stronger. And that's when it happened.
We've had a terrible accident here. Henry just got taken by a crocodile.
Out of the corner of his eye, Chris caught a sudden flicker of movement. A massive crocodile, the largest they had seen on the entire journey, erupted from the water and clamped down on Henry. At that very instant, Henry muttered 3 quiet words. Oh my God. It wasn't a cry for help or even a plea. It was almost as if he already knew what was coming. The attack was instant, merciless, and final. By the time Chris registered what he was seeing, it was already too late. Henry was gone.
God damn. Oh. Damn it. Oh, Henry. Fuck. The crocodile took him right out of his boat.
Hey, no, wait, just wait. No. I saw the whole thing happen. You saw it come out of the water.
It was big. I mean, his head was half the size of that kayak.
It was massive.
We got him by the shoulder.
Yeah, it was just like, it was right up there.
Ben and Chris raced to a nearby village for help, but for the locals, hardened by years of losses to crocodiles, there was no option of entering the river. To them, it was a death trap. In the end, Henry's body was never recovered. For Henry's partner, Juliana Boring, the loss was devastating. She had been planning to fly to Uganda to begin a new life with him at the end of that year. Instead, she was left with grief, but also with Henry's legacy. In the end, Henry died doing exactly what defined him, pushing into the unknown in a river that demanded the ultimate price. His story is both a cautionary tale of nature's power and a tribute to a man who lived his life on the edge of it. Quick interruption. If you're enjoying this video, why not hit that subscribe button? We're on a mission to hit 400,000 subscribers, and when we do, 4 lucky fans will win a free Creepy Vids hoodie. Right now, 65.1% of you watching haven't subscribed yet. It's completely free, and your support helps us make even more awesome videos. So don't miss out. Subscribe now, and let's get back to the video. Like this encounter, that comes from the TikTok account Cycle Social, which has only posted 2 videos, both about kayaking. But one of them stands out in a chilling way. It captures a man on what was supposed to be a peaceful camping and fishing trip in April 2021, as he kayaked through the beautiful wilderness of New Braunfels, Texas. The sun was shining, the water was calm. It seemed like the perfect escape into nature. But then, out of nowhere, a piercing scream shattered the silence. Startled and unsure of what he had just heard, he quickly grabbed his GoPro and hit record.
Those birds freaked out. What the hell is that noise? I'm going over there. Hey, do y'all hear that screaming? Is that something I should be like worried about? think my day is about to be ruined.
As he paddled closer to the source of the sound, the screaming only grew more intense. And now, there was no doubt about it. It was a human voice, and it sounded like someone crying out for help. His heart raced. Something felt terribly wrong, and he couldn't just ignore it. Bracing himself for whatever he might find, he followed the direction of the screams and called out, hoping somehow to get a response.
Are you okay? Well, I didn't hear any screams for help back. Yeah. No one called out when I asked if they were okay. Hopefully they're just having a bad trip or something. I thought it was like a bobcat or something at first. I don't know if I should call the... You think I should call the police?
It sounded like somebody was yelling.
Yeah, I'll probably call them and just tell them someone's screaming under the bridge. I mean...
I don't know where they're going to enter. If it's going to be on the south side of the bridge.
It's on the south side?
I mean, to get to it, to be easy for them to get there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to call... I'm not going up there. But if someone needs help...
The fact that the screaming stopped when he called out raised more questions than answers, and a deep sense of unease settled in. Not wanting to risk going any further alone, he called 911 to report what he had heard. Authorities assured him that officers would be dispatched to the area and told him it was his decision whether to stay or leave. But curiosity had its grip on him, and after a tense moment of listening, hoping to catch even the faintest sound but hearing nothing, he got more and more driven to understand what had happened. And so, he and the other kayakers decided to cautiously investigate the area together.
Hello? Hello?
Is anyone up here? You see anyone? No? There's no one up here, but there's stuff like, it looks like fresh tea or something. Well, I guess we stopped whatever was happening.
Maybe. Or gave her opportunity to run. Huh? I saw one.
While it was somewhat reassuring that there was no one visibly in danger, it still didn't explain what they had heard, but feeling they had done all they could, they left the area, hoping that whatever had happened was over. After the video was uploaded, the comment section quickly filled with theories. Some viewers were convinced it sounded like a child. Others believed the scream came from the tunnel by the water. But Psychosocial later clarified that he was certain it was a woman's voice, and he was just as sure it hadn't come from the tunnel, explaining that while GoPro microphones can distort direction, in person it was much clearer. Still, No one ever came forward. No missing persons were linked to the incident, and no update ever followed. So, what do you think happened that day? Was it a woman in serious danger? Or could it have been someone under the influence, crying out into the wilderness? Let us know your thoughts. It was a calm, sunlit afternoon, water like glass, a lone fisherman drifting in his canoe with nothing but the lapping waves and his own quiet thoughts. The day was peaceful, and he was enjoying his time in nature until something unseen slid beneath the boat. A ripple, a shadow, and suddenly, everything felt wrong.
Yeah. So that was one. I think there's 20 of them.
Without warning, a few massive, unknown creatures passed directly under the canoe. The surface erupted in ripples as the boat quivered. He didn't see details, no fins, no tail, just vast shadows that seemed to stretch the length of the canoe itself, gliding silently into the deep. In that moment, fear replaced reason. He wasn't alone on the water, and whatever had just passed beneath him didn't belong to any fish he knew. The footage spread quickly. Some called it a sea monster. Others swore it was something prehistoric, like a modern-day leviathan caught just out of sight. The mystery, the fear, the unknown, it all added up to the perfect viral storm. But then came the debunking. Experts and viewers alike began dissecting the video frame by frame. Marine biologists chimed in. The wide, slow-moving shadow? The size? The ripple pattern? Most agreed. It wasn't a monster. It was likely a group of manatees, large, gentle sea cows known to glide through shallow waters in formation. When bunched together, their smooth backs and synchronized movements can create the illusion of a single enormous creature. It wasn't terror, it was nature, misunderstood in the moment. Still, even knowing that, the feeling lingers. Because in those few seconds, that fisherman wasn't thinking about science. He was thinking about survival, about what ancient force might be gliding beneath him. And sometimes, even when logic arrives later, the fear never really leaves. So yes, maybe it was manatees, but for the man in that boat, it was something else entirely. Something that reminded him, and all of us, that the unknown still lives just beneath the surface. Johan Potgieter, an experienced spear fisherman, dove into the waters off Cape Town, South Africa, expecting a routine day beneath the waves. What he found instead was something pulled straight from the depths of a nightmare. It started like any other dive, calm, silent, with nothing but his breath and the distant hum of the sea. Then, out of nowhere, something emerged. A great white shark, silent and sudden, gliding from the shadows like a ghost. Johan, armed with nothing but a spear and his instincts, pointed it toward the predator. The shark dropped its fins, sending an unmistakable signal of aggression locked onto him with chilling precision. The next movement was even more terrifying.
White! Pass on for the white!
The shark took a 180-degree turn with a full-speed charge. The ocean around him seemed to hold its breath, His camera kept rolling, catching every second as the beast closed in. And then, at the last possible moment, it veered off, disappearing as suddenly as it had come. Johan floated back, breathless. He made it out unharmed. But that footage? A haunting testament to just how fast peace can turn to panic when you're no longer the biggest predator in the water. On the morning of November 7, 2022, professional fisherman Matthew Gorn set out for what he thought would be a routine trip off the coast of Port Augusta, South Australia. The water was calm, the sky bright, and about 10 kilometers offshore, he let his kayak drift as he cast his line. Fishing from a kayak was nothing new to him. It was a way to clear his head, to work in silence with only the sea for company. But that silence would not last. The first sign was subtle, an unease in the water, as if something large was shifting beneath the surface. At first, Matthew thought little of it. The Spencer Gulf is home to countless marine creatures, from dolphins to rays, and odd movements below the waves were part of the territory. But within moments, that calm dissolved into something far more terrifying. From the depths, a great white shark breached, lunging directly at his kayak paddle. Shock hit instantly. This wasn't a distant sighting or a harmless fin slicing through the water. The shark was here, towering beside him, striking with precision, testing the fragile barrier between predator and man. For minutes that felt like hours, the shark circled, its shadow moving just beneath the kayak. Every creak of the paddle, every shift in balance, seemed to draw its attention.
I'm going to the box.
Matthew's GoPro captured the moment in unflinching clarity, showing a man caught between terror and awe, gripping his paddle with the knowledge that one wrong move could end it all. And then, as suddenly as it appeared, the shark turned. With a slow sweep of its tail, it vanished back into the depths, leaving the ocean deceptively calm once more. The silence was deafening. Later, recounting the ordeal, Matthew admitted that he had been stupid to head out without a shark shield, a device designed to repel predators with electrical pulses. He knew just how close the encounter had come to disaster. For those who watched the footage, the debate lingers. Was the shark attacking, mistaking the paddle for prey? Or was it simply curious, investigating the unfamiliar shape above? Whatever the case, one fact is undeniable. Matthew escaped unharmed, but the memory of that breach, the sight of those jaws lunging from the depths, will never leave him. But what do you think? Was this a narrow escape from an attack, or just a chilling reminder of the curiosity of one of the ocean's most formidable hunters? There are places in the world so breathtaking, they almost convince you they're harmless. Reynisfjara Black Sand Beach in Iceland is one of them. With its towering basalt columns, thunderous waves, and volcanic sands as black as night, it feels otherworldly, untouched, and eternal. But behind that beauty lies one of the deadliest stretches of shoreline on Earth. Skip and Jonathan arrived that day to capture the magic of the landscape. The wind was sharp, the waves were already fierce, but the scenery was too stunning to leave behind. They kept filming, kept taking photos, determined to make the most of it, despite the warnings, despite the signs. The sea was restless. Every wave crashed louder than the last. The foam crept higher up the rocks, but they stayed. And then came the wave that changed everything. monstrous wave surged over the rocks. In an instant, they were pulled into the freezing Atlantic, dragged off the boulders, soaked to the bone, and thrown into chaos. The water was ferocious, the current unforgiving. But miraculously, they made it back to shore, shaken, drenched, but alive. Others have not been so fortunate. Reynis Fiara has taken lives before. People who stood too close, just like they did. People who thought they'd have time to step back. But the waves here don't follow rules. They strike when they want, with no rhythm and no mercy. Skip later said it was the most violent storm and surf he had ever witnessed, and if they weren't so lucky as they were, it might have been their last. Signs are posted, warnings are issued, but still, year after year, people underestimate what this beach is capable of. It's easy to forget that beauty can be dangerous, that the most mesmerizing places are often the most merciless. And Reynis Fiara is merciless. Let this serve as a reminder. Never underestimate the sea, especially not here. Because at Reynis Fiara, beauty isn't the only thing that's powerful. It's the danger hiding beneath it. But not all threats come from nature. Sometimes the most terrifying danger doesn't rise from the sea, but walks among us. And when the warnings are missed, the consequences can be just as unforgiving. Meet our fisherman, Anderson Geddes, a passionate angler who documented his fishing expeditions, taking viewers on immersive journeys to remote fishing spots. Through his videos, he captured the thrill of the catch and the serene beauty of nature. With his enthusiastic storytelling style, he kept his audience captivated. But one day, he would come to understand just how unpredictable and unsettling these adventures could truly become. On a calm day, Anderson arrived at a remote location, ready to embark on another kayak fishing adventure. Armed with nothing but his fishing gear and camera, he was eager to document whatever catches the waters had to offer.
Pegou! Escapou. Não, tá aqui, tá aqui, tá aqui. Tá aqui, tá aqui, tá aqui. Pegou. Vem cá. Uhul!
The video began with him successfully catching some fish, proudly showing off a beautiful corvina to the camera. As he continued fishing, the peaceful atmosphere set the stage for what would soon become a terrifying encounter.
Tucuna linda. Vem cá, garoto. Vai, Charles. Aí, garoto. Ai, que lindo. Lindo, lindo, lindo. Vamos soltar esse cara. Ó, rapaz. Que linda, cara. Corvina. Olha aí. Ah, garoto. Olha aí, ó. Linda, linda corvina. Vem cá. Aí, ó. Olha aí que lindo. Isso é corvina, parece peixe do mar.
He started by catching several fish, carefully releasing some back into the water while admiring their beauty. He exclaimed about their beauty, clearly enjoying his successful fishing trip.
Ah, garoto! Lindo, lindo, lindo. Aí. Bom que com o anzol inline é fácil de soltar. Ó. E ainda amassou o anzolzinho. Mas veio. Vem cá, garoto. Aí, ó. Vem cá, vem cá. Aí, garoto. Todos eles aqui já dão um padrãozinho bom, né, cara?
Do rio, né?
É.
Os pequenos não saem do rio da Bahia, né?
Não sai. Aí. Mais quadradinho, já bonito. Agora.
Without any warning signs, he continued fishing in the shallow waters, completely unaware of what lurked beneath. But then, something unexpected happened. His line suddenly went taut with something far more powerful than he had anticipated.
Que foi isso? Que foi isso? Ué, que foi? Peguei alguma coisa aqui. Peguei alguma coisa aqui. É um boto, será? Não. Caramba. Olha aí. É grande, é grande. É grande. Vai levantar, vai levantar. Nossa, meu Deus do céu! É um monstro de um jacaré. Caramba, cara! Meu Deus, e agora, Jesus? Meu Deus do céu, é muito grande, cara. É muito grande, é muito grande. Parceiro do céu, ajuda. Esse é grande, cara. É maior que o seu caiaque. Caramba, cara, olha o tamanho desse cara. Tá me rebocando, meu irmão. Caramba, e agora? Tá muito perto. Olha o tamanho. E agora? Caramba. Meu Deus do céu, cadê ele? Pra onde que ele vai? Caramba. Ele tá bem aqui embaixo de mim, cara. Caramba, Charles, ó.
Tá indo pro meio?
Não sei, ele tá afundando. Pega minhas varas aqui do meu caiaque, cara. Caramba.
At that moment, he realized he had hooked something massive, and fear immediately took hold of him. His voice trembled with a mix of excitement and terror as he noted the size of what he had caught. The massive animal began creating bubbles under the kayak, and Anderson found himself in a precarious position. He repeated in terror that the creature was underneath him as he realized how vulnerable he was in his small kayak. The creature's size was astonishing. He noted with disbelief it was comparable to the size of the kayak.
Meu Deus do céu. Caramba, meu irmão. Caramba, meu irmão. Caramba. Olha o tanto de bolha. Nossa, olha o tamanho das bolhas, cara. Olha de bolha. Olha só. Se liga no tamanho desse cara, velho. Caramba, meu irmão. Caramba. É muito monstro, cara. É muito monstro. Ó. Nem se mexe. E eu não posso recolher ele muito rápido, porque se ele morder o caiaque, ele me afunda com tudo.
A sudden movement beneath him intensified his fear. The large creature was directly under his kayak, threatening his stability. He explained with heavy breathing that the creature had made contact with the kayak, threatening to sink him completely as he tried to maintain his composure despite the danger.
E agora? Não, olha. Cara, imagina um animal que tá soltando bolha já faz um tempão e não acaba as bolhas dele, cara. Olha o tamanho disso. Pera aí. Uia. Bateu de novo o rabo dele no caiaque. Agora ele se mexeu. Ó.
As time passed, the fisherman's situation grew increasingly tense. The animal continued to release bubbles, a sign of its massive size and proximity. He observed, his voice still shaking from the encounter, the continuous bubbling that wouldn't stop.
Caramba, ele vai ter que subir, cara, não pode? Onde ele tá? Ele tá bem aqui, ó. Acabou a cabeça dele. Olha. Você viu? O rabo dele é muito grande, cara, porque ele tá lá no fundo. Caramba, Charles. E agora, meu irmão? Ele tá indo pra margem. Ele tá indo pra margem.
The struggle continued, as the creature moved toward the shallows. The fisherman narrated the creature's movements, hoping the animal would eventually release itself from his line.
E agora? Não, muito perto não. Não posso ficar muito perto dele não. Olha lá, ó. Agora ele começou a puxar pra baixo ainda, ó. Ó. Caramba, ó. Ó. Nem se mexe. Nem se mexe. Parece que esse torque que eu tô dando não tá fazendo nem cócega no bicho. É muito grande, cara. Isso aqui pra nós é como se a gente estivesse palitando os dentes dele. Ó, começou a soltar bolha. Começou a soltar bolha.
Despite his attempts to reel in the line, the animal remained firmly hooked. He explained that he was turning the camera on and off to conserve battery, indicating that the struggle had already lasted much longer than expected.
Tracionado agora. Olha, começou a sair bolha. Bolha, cara, ó. Ele vai subir. Agora ele vai subir. Começou a aliviar a linha. Tá subindo. Ó, ó o líder, tá bem aqui o líder, ó. Ó, agora ele puxou. Agora ele puxando. Olha o tanto de bolha. Ele tá subindo. Tá subindo, cara. Tá subindo. Olha o líder ali, o nó do líder ali. Caramba, eu tenho um... Parece que tem um negócio no líder aqui. Chega mais perto. Tá ligado a sua, né? Tá ligado aqui também. Agora sim. Nossa! Tá se afastando. Tá se afastando. Vai pro raso. Olha. Nossa! Nossa! Olha o tanto de bolha. Olha isso, cara. Meu Deus do céu. É gigantesco. É gigantesco. Tem um risco na linha bem ali, ó. Olha o tanto de bolha.
After approximately 40 minutes of this intense standoff, the encounter reached its climax. He exclaimed as the struggle finally approached its conclusion.
Descolou ele do fundo.
Aham. Eu não quero deixar ele... Caramba, caramba, caramba. Nossa, tá girando o caiaque. Olha, olha a força desse bicho, cara. Olha a força desse animal. Se liga nisso, cara. Meu Deus do céu. Olha o líder aqui, ó. Que é isso? É um dinossauro, cara? Você viu?
Tá lá no meio, cara.
Meu Deus do céu, cara. É um dinossauro isso aqui. Nossa, caramba. Olha isso, cara. Olha isso. Olha ali, ó. Olha onde tá de bolha ali, ó. Não consigo subir mais a vara.
Só que agora ele pulou de novo, né?
Acho que não.
Não, ele tá flutuando ainda?
Tá.
Então você vai ter que manter pressionado.
Caramba, cara.
Tô. Não, agora tá nos 15 segundos.
Ah,
tá,
sim.
Tá gravando.
Caramba, meu. Essa varinha aqui, ó, é do Silvano. Silvano varas custam. Não aguenta? Hã? Fala pra mim.
Olha lá, o jeito que ela tá aí.
Esse molinete é 2.500.
Acho que ele tá grudado no fundo. Tá não.
Tá não, certo?
Tá não.
Tá não?
Então, se ele tiver...
The situation grew even more intense as the fisherman realized the creature might be attempting to break free. His voice was a mixture of fear and curiosity about what exactly he had hooked.
Não tem.
Você só vai puxar ele pra perto de você.
É, não tem.
O único jeito é se o caiaque tivesse apoiado, alguma coisa assim. Encrenca, hein?
Encrenco. Olha o tanto de bolha que ele tá soltando aqui. Olha lá. Ele tá bem perto, cara.
Tá com o líder aí?
Não. Ele conseguiu tomar um pouco de linha. Ó, isso aqui tudo eu puxando ele. Aí, ó. Tá soltando bolha. Tá soltando bolha, galera. Eu tô ligando e desligando a câmera, porque senão vai acabar a bateria. Mas a gente já tá aqui, ó, só onde que tá ali, ó. A gente já tá um tempão aqui, hein, Charles? O quê?
Eventually, the bait broke in the middle, allowing the creature to escape. He explained, showing the damaged bait to the camera. Despite losing part of his gear, he was clearly relieved that the encounter had ended without further incident.
Olha de bolha, cara. Tá afrouxando. Ó. Ó. Vai tomar. Vai levar. Tá levando. Tá levando. Tá levando. Arrebentou. Arrebentou. Olha ele ali, ó. Olha ele ali, ó. Só veio pra tirar sarro e soltou minha isca. Partiu no meio, cara. Partiu no meio. Olha o tamanho da criança.
Ele vai sair do seco, hein? Foi não.
Caramba, ó, partiu a isca no meio. Caramba, meu. Olha. Olha o estrago da isca. Esmagou ela todinha. E partiu do meio. Olha aí lá, ó as bolhas dele lá, ó. Olha ele ali, ó. Olha lá. Será que ele vai sair no seco?
Acho que vai.
Olha lá, tá bem ali ele ali, ó. Vamos acompanhar ele, vamos ver se ele vai sair. Se ele vai sair pra fora e vai pro mato. Vamos ver.
Caramba, cara. O que ele fez pra sair?
A galera, dá uma olhada aqui no que aconteceu com a isca. Olha isso. Olha isso. Meu Deus do céu. Graças a Deus ele... Bom, pelo menos... Hein, Charles? É. Eu não falei que a gente ia levar a nossa isca?
É, ué.
Ah?
Você falou que queria levar, né?
Né? Mas ele falou, não, então nós vamos dividir.
É. Um pedacinho lá, né?
Ele ficou com um pedacinho.
Anderson concluded his video with a sense of accomplishment despite the frightening encounter. He reflected, grateful to have survived the ordeal unharmed. Although our fisherman completed his trip safely, one unsettling question remained. What exactly was that massive creature? Was it an alligator or crocodile, as he seemed to suggest, or perhaps some other massive aquatic predator? The mystery of that encounter remains partially unsolved, though the bubbles and behavior suggest it was likely a large reptilian predator. Spirits might be unsettling, but at least they can't cause physical harm. Wild animals, on the other hand, can be far more dangerous, especially apex predators in their natural habitat. Fortunately, our fisherman didn't have to learn that the hard way. His steady nerves and cautious approach ensured he remained safe throughout the encounter. one thing's for sure, he'll probably think twice before fishing alone in those waters again. The ocean has always been a place of wonder, but it's also a place of power. Out beyond the safety of shorelines and breakwaters lies a different world, one ruled by wind, water, and time. There are no straight roads out here, no warning signs, just endless motion and the unshakable truth that the sea plays by its own rules. For centuries, sailors have looked to the ocean with both admiration and fear. It offers freedom like nowhere else, vast horizons, the rhythm of the waves, and the silence of isolation. But that freedom comes with a cost. Because when the weather turns, the sea doesn't care who you are, how far you've come, or how experienced you might be. It doesn't negotiate.
Holy shit.
That's God. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of scared then.
Most modern ships are built to withstand that reality. Giant freighters, commercial tankers, military vessels, they're constructed with steel hulls and reinforced decks, engineered to power through storms that would tear smaller boats apart. But when you're in a 28-foot sailboat, alone, hundreds of kilometers offshore, the equation changes. There's no backup, no harbor to run to, and no one coming to help if things go wrong. That's the reality faced by a solo sailor in November of 2017. Somewhere between New Caledonia and the Australian coast, he found himself in the middle of a violent offshore storm. He had been sailing Fathom, his Vancouver 28, as part of a solo circumnavigation around the world. By then, he had already seen his share of rough seas, but nothing quite like this. For 3 days, the storm battered the boat. Winds howled. Waves broke with force. The deck stayed soaked and the cabin never stopped shuddering. He was managing it all, barely, using every ounce of skill and instinct he had built over the course of his journey. Luckily, after those 3 days, the wind softened and the waves grew less aggressive. For the first time since the storm began, the chaos gave way to something more manageable. It wasn't calm, but it was enough. Enough to get Fathom moving again. Enough to steer back toward land with some degree of control. But the timing was critical. Had he tried to close in on the coast earlier, the outcome could have been disastrous. The shallow waters off Australia's edge, combined with the sheer force of the South Australian current, can turn heavy seas into towering, breaking walls of water. In conditions like that, there's no room for error. Another solo sailor, caught in the same weather system, needed to be rescued after attempting landfall too early. It's the kind of detail that sticks with you. Proof that sometimes the most important decision is not when to push forward, but when to wait. Now that was all for today, folks. If you enjoyed these horrifying clips, click to see more on the video on screen.